You remember the hallway, the one where it happened, the one where you learned to make yourself small, to walk quickly, to disappear. You remember the laughter, the words, the faces that wouldn't look at you when you needed someone, anyone, to just see. You're an adult now. Years have passed, decades maybe, but sometimes, when you walk into a room full of people, you're still that child, still waiting for the attack, still braced for the humiliation, still convinced you don't belong. If you were bullied as a child, this is for you. Today, we're exploring something most people don't understand: the psychology of a child who got bullied. Not just what happened to them in that moment, but what happened inside them. What changed? What broke? What stayed broken for decades? And why those invisible scars might be the deepest wounds you'll ever carry. Let's start with a truth nobody wants to hear. Childhood bullying is not a phase. It's not character building. It's not something you just get over. It's trauma. Actual, measurable, lasting trauma. Research shows that up to 35% of people experience bullying at some point in childhood. 1 in 3 children. And approximately 20% of those who were bullied develop mental health problems that persist into adulthood, even at age 50. 50 years old, and still carrying wounds from childhood. A study following children born in 1958 for 40 years found that victims of childhood bullying had higher rates of psychiatric disorders in midlife, including depression and anxiety, compared to those who weren't bullied. 40 years later, and the effects were still there. The British researchers who conducted this study said something striking. When compared to being placed in foster care, one of the most severe childhood adversities we know, the effects of chronic bullying were just as detrimental decades later. Think about that. Being bullied can be as psychologically damaging as being removed from your family. And yet, we still call it a normal part of growing up. But there's nothing normal about systematic abuse of power, about repeated attacks when you're still forming your sense of self, about learning, as a child, that you're not safe in the world. And that lesson, that stays with you. Here's what happens in the mind of a child who's being bullied. At first, they try to understand it. Why me? What did I do wrong? How can I fix this? They search for reasons. They must have done something, said something, been something that made this happen. Because the alternative, that cruelty is random, that people hurt others for no reason, that the world is fundamentally unsafe, is too terrifying for a child's mind to accept. So they blame themselves. They internalize it. I'm too fat, too skinny, too quiet, too loud, too smart, too dumb, too something, not enough something else. And that belief, that there's something fundamentally wrong with them, becomes the foundation of their self-concept. Psychologists find that self-esteem is both a risk factor and a consequence of bullying. Children suffering from repetitive bullying at a time when they're still developing their personalities suffer serious and lasting decline in self-esteem. You don't just lose confidence. You lose your sense of worth, your belief that you deserve kindness, your understanding of yourself as someone valuable. And rebuilding that takes years, sometimes decades, sometimes a lifetime. Let me tell you what bullying does to a developing brain. When a child experiences repeated threat, repeated humiliation, repeated attack, their nervous system adapts. It stays on high alert, hypervigilant, always scanning for danger, always expecting the next attack. Research shows that being bullied can alter physiological responses to stress. It can change how your body produces cortisol, how your nervous system regulates itself, how your brain processes threat. And these changes, they last. Studies found that children who were bullied showed elevated inflammation levels, measured through C-reactive protein in their blood, and these levels increased with the frequency of bullying. Years later, as adults, people who'd been bullied in childhood still showed higher inflammation, increased risk of obesity, cardiovascular problems, metabolic disorders. The body keeps the score, literally, at a cellular level. But it's not just physical. The psychological changes run deeper. Between 27 and 40% of children experiencing bullying develop symptoms severe enough to meet criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, from bullying, the same diagnosis given to combat veterans and assault survivors. Because repeated interpersonal trauma, which is what bullying is, creates the same neurological and psychological patterns. Flashbacks to the bullying, nightmares, intrusive thoughts, hypervigilance, avoidance of anything that reminds them of it. Here's what people don't understand about childhood trauma. It happens during critical developmental periods, when your brain is forming, when your sense of self is developing, when you're learning who you are and how the world works. And bullying teaches specific, devastating lessons. It teaches you that people are dangerous, that trust is foolish, that opening up leads to pain. It teaches you that you're not worth protecting, that nobody will come help, that you're alone in your suffering. It teaches you that there's something wrong with you, something that justifies how you're treated, something fundamentally unlovable. And these lessons, they become the operating system for your entire life. Years later, you wonder why you can't trust people, why you push everyone away, why you can't believe anyone could truly love you. And you don't connect it to that hallway, to those words, to that child who learned they weren't worth defending. But your body remembers. Your nervous system remembers. Your subconscious remembers. Let's talk about what bullying does to relationships. When you're bullied as a child, you learn a warped version of social interaction. You learn that people hurt you. That connection equals danger. That being seen equals being attacked. So you develop strategies, protection mechanisms. Maybe you become invisible, quiet, small. The person nobody notices because being noticed means being targeted. Or maybe you become a people pleaser, always accommodating, always agreeable, never having needs or boundaries because having those got you hurt before. Or maybe you become aggressive, building walls so high nobody can get close enough to hurt you again. Attacking first so you're never the victim. These strategies made sense when you were being bullied. They kept you safe, helped you survive. But decades later, they're destroying your ability to connect, to love, to be intimate. Research shows that adults who were bullied as children report higher rates of social difficulties, trouble trusting, fear of rejection, problems with intimacy. Because how do you let someone close when closeness has always meant pain? How do you believe someone loves you when your formative experience was being told you're worthless? How do you open up when vulnerability has always led to attack? You don't. So you stay lonely, surrounded by people but isolated, wanting connection but terrified of it. And you might not even know why. You just know relationships feel impossible. Trust feels dangerous. Love feels like a trap. Now let's talk about something specific. Hypervigilance. This is one of the most persistent effects of childhood bullying, and one of the least understood. Hypervigilance means your threat detection system never turns off. You're always scanning, always alert, always waiting for something bad to happen. You walk into a room and immediately assess. Who's here? Where are the exits? Who might be a threat? What's the mood? Am I safe? Someone laughs nearby and your body tenses. Are they laughing at you? Even though rationally you know they're probably not, your nervous system reacts as if they are. Someone doesn't text back quickly and you panic. They're upset. They hate you. They're going to abandon you, even though they're probably just busy. Research shows that bullying victims develop altered social cognition, becoming hypervigilant to hostile cues. Your brain learned to constantly look for signs of threat, rejection, mockery, and it's exhausting. Living like that, never relaxing, never feeling truly safe, always waiting for the attack. This is what people mean when they say trauma is in the body. It's not just memories. It's a nervous system that learned the world is dangerous and never unlearned it. Let me show you something about anger. Many adults who were bullied as children struggle with anger. Inexplicable, intense, sometimes frightening anger. They might not even connect it to the bullying. They just know they have a short fuse. That small things trigger big reactions. That rage lives just beneath their surface. But here's what's happening. That anger is old anger. Anger from a child who couldn't defend themselves, who had to swallow their rage because expressing it would have made things worse. So it went underground, festered, grew, waited, and now, as an adult, something minor happens. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a coworker makes a dismissive comment, your partner forgets something, and suddenly you're flooded with rage that feels disproportionate to the situation. That's because it is. That rage isn't about the current moment. It's about every moment you couldn't fight back, every humiliation you had to endure, every time you were hurt and nobody helped. Studies show that anger is strongly associated with both victimization and perpetration of bullying. And for victims, that anger can persist into adulthood, manifesting in ways that damage relationships and careers. The tragedy is, you're angry at the wrong things. The rage belongs in the past, with the people who hurt you. But it leaks into the present, hurting the people who love you now. Here's what happens to your sense of safety. When you're bullied as a child, your foundational sense of safety in the world shatters. School, a place that should be safe, becomes dangerous. Other children, who should be friends, become threats. Adults, who should protect, stand by and do nothing. And you learn, nowhere is safe. Nobody will help. I'm on my own. This creates what psychologists call a shattered worldview. Your basic assumptions about the world, that it's predictable, that people are generally good, that you're valuable, are destroyed. And rebuilding that worldview? That's the work of years. Many adults who were bullied report persistent feelings of unsafety. They don't feel comfortable in public spaces. They struggle with social anxiety. They avoid situations that remind them of school, groups, hierarchy. Research shows bullying victims are more likely to experience school absenteeism. In the UK alone, over 16,000 young people aged 11 to 15 are absent from school, with bullying as the main reason. Because when a place is dangerous, you avoid it. That's not weakness. That's survival instinct. But when that instinct persists into adulthood, when you're avoiding work, social events, any situation that triggers that old fear, you're not living. You're still just surviving. Let's talk about something nobody discusses. Shame. Bullying creates profound, lasting shame. Not guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. And children who are bullied often develop toxic shame. The belief that they deserved it, that there's something fundamentally wrong with them, that they're damaged goods. This shame shapes everything. Your relationships, your career choices, your willingness to be seen, your capacity to believe good things about yourself. You might be successful, accomplished, loved, and still, underneath, carry this bone-deep conviction that you're not enough, that you're pretending, that when people really know you, they'll reject you. Research shows that many people bullied in childhood engage in self-blame. They wrongfully believe their body, their personality, their very existence was the problem. Overweight children might think, if I'd been thinner, they wouldn't have bullied me. Quiet children think, if I'd been more outgoing. Smart children think, if I'd dumbed myself down. But that's not true. The bullying wasn't your fault. It was never about what you did or who you were. It was about the bully's need for power, their own insecurities, their learned behaviors. But try telling that to the child inside you who needed a reason, who couldn't accept that cruelty is sometimes random, who had to find a way to feel in control by believing they caused it. That child still lives in you, still carrying that shame, still believing the lie. Now let me tell you what makes it worse. The silence, the minimization, the just ignore them advice that never worked. When adults don't intervene, they send a message. This isn't important. You're not worth protecting. Deal with it yourself. When other children don't help, they send a message. You deserve this. You're not worth defending. You're alone. And when society says kids will be kids, or it's just a phase, or it'll make you stronger, they're telling you your pain doesn't matter. Research shows that experiences in the family environment, like maternal warmth, sibling support, positive home atmosphere, were protective factors for bullied children. These family supports had even stronger effects for bullied children than for non-bullied children. In other words, love helps, support helps, being believed helps. But many children who are bullied don't get that support. Their parents don't know, or they minimize it, or they blame the child. And that compounds the trauma. It's not just the bullying. It's the loneliness of dealing with it alone. Here's something important. Not all bullying victims develop long-term problems. Resilience is real. Some children experience bullying and emerge relatively unscathed. They had protective factors, supportive families, good friends, strong self-esteem, effective coping skills. Or maybe the bullying was brief, mild, didn't persist. Or maybe they had intervention that worked. Adults who believed them. Consequences for the bullies. A school that took it seriously. These things matter. Profoundly. But for those without these protections, the effects can be devastating and long-lasting. A dose-response relationship exists. The more frequent the bullying, the more severe, the more chronic, the worse the outcomes in adolescence and adulthood. And certain types of bullying are especially harmful, being both directly and indirectly bullied. Physical and social exclusion combined, or being what researchers call a bully victim, someone who's both bullied and bullies others. These children show the worst outcomes of all. Let me talk about something specific. The achievement gap. Bullying doesn't just affect mental health. It affects everything. Studies show chronic bullying victims have increased risk of not completing high school or college. This then increases risk of lower income, poorer job performance, economic struggles in adulthood. Because when you're spending all your energy just surviving, just trying not to be attacked, just trying to get through the day without breaking down, you can't focus on learning, on developing skills, on planning for the future. Your brain is in survival mode. And survival mode doesn't do homework. It doesn't think about career paths. It just tries to make it to tomorrow. So bullied children fall behind academically, not because they're less capable, but because their resources are depleted by constant threat. And that gap, it persists, affecting college choices, job opportunities, economic stability. Childhood bullying has serious effects on health, resulting in substantial costs for individuals, their families, and society at large. It's not just a personal tragedy. It's a public health crisis that we're still treating like a rite of passage. Now let's talk about healing. Because if you were bullied as a child, I want you to hear this. You can heal. The effects are real, but they're not permanent. The damage is deep, but it's not irreversible. The first step is connecting the dots. Understanding that your anxiety, your trust issues, your hypervigilance, your shame, these might be rooted in what happened to you decades ago. That realization can be painful, but it's also liberating. Because once you see the pattern, you can start changing it. Therapy helps, especially trauma-focused therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy can address the negative thought patterns. EMDR can help process traumatic memories. Somatic therapy can help regulate your nervous system. Research shows that interventions focusing on negative cognitions and involving families have greater success in helping bullied children heal. But even as an adult, these approaches work. You can challenge the beliefs formed in childhood. You can learn that you're not the problem, that you didn't deserve it, that you're worthy of love and safety. You can teach your nervous system that the danger is over, that not everyone is a threat. That connection can be safe. It takes time. It takes work. It's not easy or quick, but it's possible. People do it. People heal from childhood bullying and build beautiful lives. You can too. Here's what I want you to understand. If you were bullied as a child, listen to me carefully. It was not your fault. Nothing you did, nothing about who you were, justified what happened to you. You didn't deserve it. No child deserves to be targeted, humiliated, attacked. No child deserves to feel unsafe in places that should protect them. And you're not broken. You're wounded. There's a difference. Broken means can't be fixed. Wounded means you need healing. And healing is always possible. The child you were deserved protection, deserved intervention, deserved adults who took it seriously and stopped it. If you didn't get that, I'm sorry. You deserve better. But the adult you are now, you can give yourself what that child didn't get. Safety, compassion, the understanding that what happened wasn't your fault. You can choose differently now. Choose relationships that are safe. Choose environments where you're valued. Choose to believe you're worthy, even though someone once told you you weren't. The bullies were wrong. About you. About your worth. About everything. And proving them wrong. That happens by living. By healing. By refusing to let their cruelty define your entire life. You are not who they said you were. You never were. You're the person who survived. Who kept going despite the pain. Who's still here, still trying, still seeking understanding. And that person is stronger than the bullies ever were. Braver, more resilient. Because cruelty is easy. But surviving it and still choosing kindness, that takes real strength. So to everyone watching this who was bullied as a child, I see you. I see the wounds you carry. I see how hard you've worked to build a life despite them. And I want you to know you deserved better then. And you deserve healing now. The past can't be changed. But the future? That's still being written. And you get to decide how this story ends. Not them. You. Now I'm genuinely curious. And this matters. If you were bullied as a child, what's one thing you wish adults had understood or done differently back then? What's the one piece of support you needed but didn't get? Drop your answer below. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to feel less alone. If this made you think differently, hit subscribe. We go deeper every day. Don't forget to like the video. It helps more people find messages like this. Personal Pulse HQ isn't just a channel. It's a mindset.